What is happening, everybody? Welcome into a brand new episode of Fighting Words. Anthony Sanfilippo's here. I am Bob Wankel. And Anthony, we have made it sort of through what has been a very long and very cold off season. We are seeing the trucks arrive in Clearwater. We're about to get some of that footage of these guys taking ground balls and putting them in buckets. And a couple of weeks from now, we'll be playing games, and it's here. The 2026 Phillies, for better or worse, are upon us. And we've done a couple shows over the offseason here and there, but I kind of wanted to use today's show as a reset. We heard from Rob Thomson and Dave Dombrowski yesterday. Really inspiring stuff. I know that I'm fired up. But you know what, man? Like, here's the deal. And one of the things I kind of want to accomplish today, how should we really feel about all this, right? Like, do we need to be absolutely miserable and pessimistic and like sarcastic and rolling our eyes going into this, or can we dream a little bit? And I think that the answer is both. I think the answer is both.
Yes.
So we'll try to do that here today. I guess, where do you want to start? Because, true to form, we didn't really plan this out.
First of all, I think it's worth pointing out, Bob, that we are now beginning our 9th season of this show. It was a different name previously, but 9 years we're beginning now. It's unbelievable how long we've been doing this, right? And I want to say that this is of the 9 years, this is the most uncertain I felt about how to feel about the team going into the year. Like I have felt pretty sure of what the team is going to be each of the previous 8 seasons. They may not have lived up to the final expectation of it a couple times, but we knew that the team was going to be legit.
We've been doing this so long that our first game that we had to react to was the Holby Milner game down in Atlanta when Gabe yanked Aaron Nola after 72 pitches on opening day.
68, let's be exact. 68 pitches it was.
It's been a while. Yeah, he's nasty, brother. That's how long we've been doing this.
Yes, exactly. But I really don't know. In my head, as I sit there and look at baseball and look at the teams and look at the competition, I do still believe this is the best team in the Eastern Division. I think it's a much tighter division. I think the Braves are going to be back. I think the Mets are improved. I still think the Phillies are the best team, but I could just as easily see them finishing 3rd in this division. So I don't know exactly where I'm at with this team yet. I'm going to need to see some spring training and see how things are going a little bit before I can really, lock that in. But
to speak to that a little bit, if you just depending on where you look, the Phillies are favored in the East and at a couple sports books. They're actually, I think, as low as 3rd in FanDuel. They're all over the place. I think even odds makers are looking at this and going wow, these 3 teams are very even. And I think that you have to give Atlanta almost feels like an afterthought in all of this, but I think that you have to give the Braves a little bit of a benefit of the doubt just in terms of the pedigree and how good they've been in recent years. And so they're still very much a factor for me as well. I think that what's interesting is that you don't know what they're going to be this year, and you don't know how the chips are going to fall. But in addition to that, even if you're able to reconcile the fact that, hey, I think this team's pretty good. I think it's a 90 to 92 3-win team. It's that within that expectation, which is kind of an optimistic or positive outlook, you have to then sort through the makeup of the roster and how you feel about what is going to be this 90 to 93 win team. You can sit here and be I think they're going to win the East, which you would think would get you fired up about it. But I think a lot of people are well, I expect them to win the NL East, and I also expect them to go out with a whimper 10 days later. And that to me is the added wrinkle. We heard Rob Thomson yesterday. I know you wanted to get to this, say that he's more excited about the team this year than he was a year ago. And I have a hard time with that. How? And to me, it's like if you want to get like crazy and really like put the tinfoil hat on, I know it's going to be one of the topics today, but like the only way that I see that this Phillies team is better right now in their minds is addition through subtraction and getting rid of Nick Castellanos. Like that's really the only place that it's any different and potentially better.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's even. I mean, look, it'll be better defensively. We know that
It'll be better defensively, and yes, like the back end of the bullpen should be markedly better at least at the start of the season. Like
what I'm saying, but Garcia, offensively,
you don't know.
Maybe the same player as Castellanos, right? The bullpen, the back end of the bullpen is the only place you look at it and go, okay, there's an improvement.
Yeah.
But everywhere else I look at it and it's either the same or it's a little bit less. I mean, I look at starting pitching, Bob, and, I know that they expect Wheeler to be back pretty soon into the season, so it's not like he's going to miss a lot of time. But we don't know what Zach Wheeler is going to look like. Like, we just don't, right? Yeah. We don't know what Andrew Painter is going to be. We're pretty confident we know what Sanchez and Luzardo are, but is Aaron Nola, is it a bounce back year or is he cooked, right? Like, I mean, there's an unknown there. There's an unknown at the 4 spot. Like, really, I mean,
what's amazing to me, and I'm an idiot because it just never in a million years did I think we were going to get to year 4 of the Taijuan Walker contract where he's probably in the rotation. Now, look, It's February 10th. Listen to the GM yesterday. He's talking about how this is kind of a late developing market. He thinks that this is, or so he thinks, or so he says. It could be a spring training where there's deals made, whether it be trades or late ads. Maybe they bolster the rotation, add some depth. Like, to me, it's insane on February 10th. I know it's not a finished product, but you cannot go into the season with this being your full complement of options in your starting rotation. Like, there has to be at least a depth piece that comes into the mix here. So, I mean, yeah, you said it. Like, I don't know about Aaron Nola. I don't know about Andrew Painter. I don't know what Zach Wheeler is going to look like. And hey, Jesus Luzardo not playing in the World Baseball Classic. He did an interview about 2 weeks ago. I believe it was on MLB Network. He's like, look, I'm going into a free agency year. It was a hard decision not to participate, but like, I'm all in. I think he's going to have a massive year. I hope he does.
Right.
But we also watched that guy for 2 months last year, and we're like, what the hell are we watching here? Like, this guy went from being the All-Star game starter to like unusable. And so I love the guy. He showed a massive set of stones in the playoffs, and I expect big things, but I don't know that there's going to be big things. So it is question marks across the board here.
Yeah, and that to me is where my biggest concern is, because yes, they might add somebody, but like, really, what are you adding at this point? Like the name that's been out there, and it's funny because I think Tim Kelly was the first one to actually suggest it, and it was not without any like sourced information, but it's kind of gotten out there now as a real possibility. Is Walker Buehler? Like, does that excite anybody that he's the depth guy? Because if you bring him back, there is no one, like, there's no one in the organization, like, who. If somebody gets hurt, if Taijuan Walker is completely unusable, like, who comes in? Right now, it's like Alan Ronhell is really the next guy. Like, who's coming? Like, you don't have that.
You're not talking about a division where you have a ton of room for like, hey, a month of just horrible starts with no solution. Like, this is going to be an ultra competitive division. So it's not the Phillies and everybody else slotting in at 80 to 68 wins. Like, you better protect yourself. And so these are real concerns. Now, there's obviously upside there. There's a world where you get a year removed or 2 years removed from Tommy John and Andrew Painter, and he is the guy that you expected that he'd be by 2026, and he pitches like a number 2 or even a number 3 starter. Nola does bounce back. Wheeler comes back and looks like Zach Wheeler, and then certainly Luzardo pitches in like that contract year to the way that gets him paid. I mean, it can all line up where they have a top 4 or 5 rotation by the end of the season, but there's a lot of room for variance here. And with a lineup that is aging and has holes and has concerns, if that variance slides too far the other way, like, they are going to be in trouble, where all of a sudden, like I've been saying on the all offseason, it's still probably a 92-win team. I know it's hard to get excited about, but like, there's a world where it's like an 84-win team, and they're very disappointing.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right, and it could well go that way. Like I still, right now, gun to my head, they're a 93 win team in my mind, but it could easily be 84, 85, easily. Like there's enough here that can be not good, and it slides backwards. Like it could easily happen.
Well, let's start big picture here, and I will ask you to assign a grade to the Phillies offseason. And
Yes.
before you do that, I do kind of want to set the stage a little bit here. Am I disappointed? Like if you showed me 20 minutes after Ryan Kerkering throws the ball into San Diego, like just no shot. And 20 minutes later, you showed me like this is the Phillies roster on February 10th, 2026. I would look at this roster and go like, you've got to be kidding me. Like they seriously didn't change anything in the infield. This is what they're going into the season with in terms of their outfield mix, which I want to talk about a little bit. There is some upside in this outfield, but it's still not good. I would have said to you, like, no way. Like, this is a slam dunk F. But then you remove yourself from it a little bit. And, like, are we, and this is going to go into your evaluation, are we totally overlooking the fact that, like, they did bring back Kyle Schwarber in a scenario where they may not have been able to? Like, why aren't they getting any credit for that?
Right.
Their catching situation is so bleak and dire beyond JT Realmuto that, like, are we not giving them any credit for just getting it done or spending the money? Like, we're looking at it and going 3 years, $45 million is insane. But, like, okay, maybe that is a little bit more than you wanted to pay, but, like, at least they weren't cheap. And now we're looking at an alternative that is just, like, unacceptable. Like, should we, I don't want to lead here, but should we be giving them more credit than they're getting from media, from the public at this point?
More credit, but I also think this is an average offseason. Like I don't think it's a failure by any stretch of the imagination. Like that's where I will give them credit for the Schwarber and Realmuto, right? Like I don't think it's a failure, but I also don't think it's a win. I think it's probably like if you're looking for a grade, it's probably like C plus. Like okay, fine, but you could have done better. And the reason I say that, Bob, is they thought they could do better. And it was played out so publicly with the Bo Bichette situation. Like they thought that they could upgrade their infield. They didn't, right? They thought they could. And they figured that they could do something different at catching. They probably had a plan B with a trade lined up in some capacity for a catcher. And they felt like a different mix would have been the best route to go. They didn't get that. And so I feel like that's why they don't get a super good grade. They don't get a good grade from me. But they do get credit for bringing back Schwarber. Okay, Realmuto's on the backside, but he's better than whatever the heck else was out there in free agency. They upgraded the bullpen. We talked about that right before. So I think that when you look at it from that perspective, I think, okay, there was some good stuff done. They're taking a flyer on Garcia. He could be a boomer bust, right? But if he's on the positive side, that's a good thing, right? So like it ends up being a solid offseason. But right now, I think it's smack dab in the middle, like just average.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to actually grade it, I'd probably say C minus. I want to ask you this. I will just represent, I think, the majority of fans who look at this team and they say it's the same thing. And I know that Rob Thomson has pushed back on that now numerous times. I think he cited that 23% of the roster is different. Like, let's be real. Like the core guys here, the everyday guys, and Crawford, I know, is now in the mix. And you're talking about, Otto Kemp maybe with Brandon Martin. Okay, like I understand there are some differences numerically. It's not the same roster. Fine, it's the same roster. It's the same team. Yeah. We know this. Are we? Like everyone seems to be pretty upset about that. And it's like this foregone conclusion that because they failed in 22 and 23 and 24 and 25, that it's impossible for this team to break through now. Like if you weren't going to crack the code in the first 4 shots at it, that there's no way now that you can do it in the fifth shot. And I know that the Dodgers building this super team is a big part of the equation, right? Like, they were the better team last year. They've gotten better. The Phillies, I don't think, have really gotten better. And so I know that looms over this conversation, but I just, to what degree are we almost just like unfairly coming into this because it's the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, look, the Dodgers are the team that looms over, but I think the Dodgers are also an example, right, Bob? I think the Dodgers are a team that when you look at them, they're a team that failed how many times before they finally won, right? Before they finally did it. Now, the argument back is going to be, yeah, but look what they had to do to get there. They had to go out and spend, exorbitantly to make it happen. And that's fair. And I think that's true. But I also believe that you can have a group of players and it takes a little bit longer to get there and still have it happen. That's not any kind of endorsement for what the Phillies have done, right? But it realistically, is it possible? It's possible. It's certainly possible that they can. Will they? That's the thing where you sit there and go, I'm not 100% sure. And it's because the Dodgers loom over you. It's because the division's going to be tighter this year than it was the last couple seasons. It's because there's other teams in the National League that are starting to become interesting, right? And you can't just constantly stay ahead. Yes, you might be the second best team in the league, but you can't just constantly keep that huge gap between yourself and the rest of the teams behind you. They're going to start catching up and they're starting to get closer. And that's going to make it, all the more challenging.
How do you see their own internal evolution? Like, we talk about what they failed to do or what they have brought in. I mean, do you see a team that's just another year older, another year inching past its prime? Or do you think that you're going to see a Nola rebound? Like, you posed the question, like, oh, it's possible, or, do you think you're going to see Bryce Harper look more like a guy that is in the fringe MVP conversation? Or are you going to look at a guy that's like, he's pretty good, he's all right, but he's not he's not in that A-B tier now of superstar players? Because to me, those are the two guys where you look at what happened last season, what's happening this season. Where can they truly improve from within? And if Nola is much better and pitches more to his career norms, which I'm not even me, I'm not number one Nola fan, but if we can get back to that and we can get Bryce Harper finishing with a 900 OPS, 920 OPS, he doesn't have to be MVP, but be an all-star player on merit.
Yeah.
Do we look at this and say, okay, do we look at Bryson Stott and say, be the guy that you were in the second half of the season? You weren't a superstar, but you were much better than you were in the first half. Brandon Marsh, can you at least be that guy that you were from mid-May onward from the start against right-handers?
So here's the thing, Bob. I'm not 100% opposed to certain things that they have planned. And you talk about Brandon Marsh and the whole thing with Marsh and Otto Kemp as a left field platoon. I'm not opposed to that because I do think that you can get the good side of Brandon Marsh and the good side of Otto Kemp and combine that to make one good player. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with taking a chance on Adolis Garcia because
are you okay?
He can't be worse than you can.
Are you okay with it in a vacuum? Because I'm okay with Otto Kemp and Brandon Marsh in left field, but I don't know that I'm okay with it next to a kid that I don't know anything about, who the Phillies did not bring up last year when they had a historically bad production from its center field group. And also next to Adolis Garcia, who I don't know. Again, I don't know. All three of these things, if you just look at them in isolation, I think are perfectly acceptable. But when you put them next to one another, I go, dude, you're trying to win a championship with this?
Yeah, that's where I'm with you, because I think that they're yes, in a vacuum, if you look at each of the plans that they have, you can see why it makes sense. But collectively, man, you need a lot to hit. You need a lot of it to work in order for this to be successful going forward. And I get it. Like a kid like Justin Crawford, you have to give him time, right? I mean, he's going to bat ninth in the lineup. He's going to, you got to give him an opportunity to play. Doing it at the start of the season as opposed to, in August and September is better for the player's development. So it's smarter from that perspective. Like, I can sit here and I can give you reasons why what they're doing in each individual position makes sense. But I'm with you that I don't know if you can sit there and expect all of your plans where each one of them is kind of tied to something working for you. I don't think that they're all worth putting together and saying, yeah, this will work. That's where I think it could come up short.
How do you look at what they did with Crawford and what they've done with Painter and kind of the expectations for these players now? I mean, they're not building in a lot of protection for failure with these guys. There is a little bit of like a sink or swim thing here. I mean, I know that like Johan Rojas exists, and I guess he could be another outfield option if Crawford really flames out here. But like, do you feel that they did not bring him up last season in the middle of a 96-win season because all eyes would have been on him and that the pressure would have been so significant for him to be a difference maker that they were almost protecting him a little bit? And if so, couldn't you make the argument that coming into this season, yes, like he'll hit ninth. Okay, fine. But that outfield is or has been so bad, and he is one of their top prospects, that they are in a way putting a lot on him despite where they might be hitting him.
Yeah, well, they are, but I think that the pressure is less now because it's the start of a season, right? Like he's just going to bat ninth. Nobody's going to talk about him. Like the pressure is. If he comes up last year, Bob, it's like, okay, we have a hole in center field. It's a problem. We're gonna throw it to our 20-year-old rookie prospect and say, go fix this problem.
Yeah,
that's putting even greater pressure on him. And so I do agree. I do think they protected him. And look, he got better.
What's that? He can play? Do you think he can play?
I've had questions about Crawford for a long time. He has exceeded expectations, though, at every level. Like, I look at a kid who hits the ball, and it was at one point, Bob, 62% is ground ball rate.
Yeah.
And I look at something and I said, there's no way that's going to fly at the major league level. But I also didn't think it was going to fly at the AAA level. And it did. Now, he improved it. It was like he got it down to like 51% or whatever it was at the end of the year last year. So he is driving the ball a little bit more. But I got to wonder, like, look, if it works at AAA, can it work even to a portion of that at the major league level? Maybe. But I also question him as a center fielder.
Yeah,
I think ultimately he's better for the corner. So we'll see there as well. And here's the last part about it. Yesterday, the Dave Dombrowski he's like, well, we expect that he is going to be our center fielder. Like, it wasn't like a guarantee either. So that's the thing that's really kind of interesting to me.
Okay. I think I can put all of this aside. And this is where my pessimism, I think, kind of leaks in a little bit. And I just have a hard time getting over this. I think I can actually go for a good team with a very good starting rotation and some veteran players knocking on the door, falling short, and breaking it down. Like, if I just look at that storyline, I believe that that's possible. And I don't think that you have to just make change for the sake of change. But the one thing I can't get over, and we just went through the outfield, and I'm not in love with that alignment and the way that they're banking on so many ifs. But on top of that, the idea that Alec Bohm is coming back and going to hit in a prominent spot in this order as a primary right-handed bat to protect Kyle Schwarber or Bryce Harper, I struggle with that.
Yeah.
I struggle with that. And there is part of me that is like, there is a pedigree there. He's a top 3 pick. He's got the body type. We've seen spurts where he's lived in the gaps. He's been a doubles machine. Maybe we get the best of Alec Bohm this season. And if we do, is that suitable? Yeah, like first half of 2024, Alec Bohm played out over 162. That would work. I just don't expect it. And to kind of piggyback off of something you said earlier in the show, I don't think they expect it, because I think that each of the last two off seasons, they have looked very hard at moving on from him and trying to find a different solution at third base. Again, the Bichette thing, like if they were happy with what they had in him and they were confident in what they had with him, they wouldn't have explored those other avenues. So I just can't get into I know that February 10th isn't October 3rd, but if I got to have more than that. You have to give me more than that. And I don't think it's Garcia either.
No, I'm in agreement with you. Before I respond to you, I just want to apologize to the listeners to this point. I accidentally had the wrong microphone selected. So now I'm actually speaking into the right mic. I've had it in front of my face, but it was just for picture purposes only.
Oh, you look good.
I selected the right microphone. Thanks to our good friend Russ Joy for pointing that out. But anyway, no. So yeah, you're right. Alec Bohm is not the cleanup hitter option. Just isn't. And I know the cleanup hitter is devalued since we've had a permanent DH, right? Like that changes the dynamic. That's why most teams bat their best players first and second or whatever. Like you're batting at the top of the lineup as opposed to 3-4. You're batting 1-2 usually, or 2-3. It just kind of changes it. But that doesn't mean that it's an unimportant spot in the lineup. It should still be your fourth best hitter, in your lineup is hitting cleanup. And usually a guy with a little bit of pop. And Alec Bohm certainly does not fit that mold. And it begs the question, like, what do you do with the lineup? Like, do you take Schwarber out of potentially batting every first inning just to bat him cleanup so that you have a more extended lineup? I don't think that's the right thing to do, but they might be forced to do that.
I expect them to start the season with Kyle Schwarber out of the leadoff spot. Do I think he finds his way back into it at some point? Probably. But they've tried. I feel like that their inclination, like they've wanted to get him out of the leadoff spot the last couple of years, and then they're forced to go back to it. And
maybe. I mean, Turner hit really well out of the leadoff spot last year. So I think that Turner's probably going to stay there. Yeah. I don't know if Schwarber stays at 2 where he had his, MVP runner-up season last year. Like, I don't think he stays there. I think Harper goes to 2. But then you got Schwarber. It's either.
You think they're going to hit Harper too?
I think so. Okay. I think they're going to flip Harper and Schwarber. And I mean, technically, you could slide Schwarber to 4 and slot somebody else in at 3. But then are you really protecting Harper? Or maybe you slide somebody else in at 2. But then you're going righty, lefty. You're really giving bullpen matchups to the opposing team. Like I don't see it. And that was kind of the question that Mr. Spooky Man's asking. He said, could batting Bohm second help balance the lineup? Or should they bat Harper 1 and Schwarber 2 like the Dodgers do with Ohtani and Betts? Yeah, but Harper won't lead off, so that's part of the problem.
Right.
You could technically put Bohm 2, but not behind Turner. Because then what are you doing? You got 2 guys who are not high on base guys batting first and second in your lineup. You just can't do that. So the problem is you have a cleanup hitter type on your team. You just don't have somebody to bat in the top 3 to move him down. Right. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Bohm is still a problem. I mean, it's an issue. 2 years they've tried to move on from him, Bob.
And I get that people look at him and they're like, well, it's gotten better defensively. He's not, a disaster at third base. The contact profile, you look at some of the years where, he's hit into the gaps and like, it's not that he's a bad player. It's that what they need isn't what he brings.
Right.
And I think he'd be much better suited somewhere else.
So the one thing that we haven't even brought up yet
and I think is looming. And I noticed it yesterday. It was the first time that either of them talked about it in this vein. But you heard Rob Thomson, when he was talking about his excitement, mention Aidan Miller. And a lot of the prospect rankings have come out by now for round baseball. And the one thing that I've noticed, they're all different. Everybody's different. But of the 4 big ones that get put out there, they're all kind of in agreement that Aidan Miller is now one of the top prospects in baseball. He was as high as number 6 in Keith Law's rankings for The Athletic. Most places had him around between 10 and 15 kind of range, right? Everyone thinks he's coming this year in some capacity.
Who was it that predicted him to be Rookie of the Year? Was it Eric Karabell?
Yeah. So then Rob mentions him yesterday. It was the first time that anybody mentioned him as from the organization as a potential part of this coming season. Again, it's a lot to put on a young player. Where does he slot, though? How does that work? Who does he replace if he comes in? Let's say everybody keeps saying July, but let's say it's sooner than that. Let's say he gets off to a great start at Lehigh Valley and he's pushing and shows that he belongs. How do you rejigger that infield? What does it look like? I think it could be not to say that, and I don't know where he fits into a lineup either.
So
right?
That's the thing. Like you talk about expectations and putting a lot on a kid. Like, okay, let's just say he's the 6th best prospect in baseball. He comes up and, hey, you're going to be the everyday third baseman now. Also, we need you to hit in the top half of the lineup because what we have isn't panning out. Like, talk about putting pressure on a kid.
Yeah, no, I agree.
That's a big ask.
Yeah.
So I'm all in on Aidan Miller. Like, I think like everyone else, like I love Aidan Miller and I expect him to come up and be a really good, he might be the best position prospect to come through this organization in the last 30 years. Like, I think that's on the table for him.
Yeah.
But in this season with these expectations and these possible deficiencies and what he's going to be asked to rectify, whew.
And I know. It's a lot. It's a lot to ask.
Where do you think? I mean, so the 2 obvious solutions here is that he comes and plays second base, or he comes and plays third base. I think third base is the more likely of the 2. Would you agree with that?
Could it be possible? Because one of I can't shake the thing where Keith Law wrote, he gets called up and becomes immediately the best option for shortstop on that team.
Do you think?
And I just myself like, how do you say that knowing Trey Turner is there, except if you have some kind of inkling that maybe they would move Turner to second, play Miller at short, and then you have a choice between Bohm and Stott for third?
I think that if Miller played shortstop, that makes them better. I think it makes the Phillies better. I think you could also make the argument, I know that he's not going to do it, especially after his defense jumped from substandard to what was he, like plus 11 defensive runs saved last year at shortstop.
Yeah.
Like, Trey Turner's not going to the outfield, but given what that outfield could look like 2 months into the season, say like, man, this would solve a problem, would it not? So I don't see it. I just don't know that like you've heard it before. Trey Turner said, I came here to be the shortstop. The Phillies said we signed him to be the shortstop. Would they really boot out Trey Turner after a pretty good 2025? Let's say that he just continues that into 26. The defense looks a lot better. He's making things happen at the top of the lineup. Would they really move him at that point? It just doesn't feel like something that they would do, but you could certainly make the argument that it would create added flexibility and potentially patch some of their deficiencies.
Yeah. No.
The kid also has to come out and do it. Like, he's got to come out this spring, have a good spring, keep the momentum rolling wherever he starts the season, keep the thing rolling. You know, things still have to happen here, but it feels like he's right on the doorstep.
Yeah. I want to get to a couple of questions that we got in the comment sections on fire today. It's mostly because Ford and Russ are in there. So what does that say? Right. But anyway, you got F Brox 123. He actually has 2 questions. The first one is, does Garcia's defense outweigh his potential offense to even see a change in right field?
I'll take that. Look, it's funny. Like, when you talk about what Garcia brings defensively versus what they had in right field last year, I think that there is a belief out there that amongst some that Nick Castellanos was actually not a bad right fielder. Like I'll support this with I talked to two different people. One is a friend of mine who is not an idiot, but okay. And then one is my 79-year-old dad. And my dad goes, is Castellanos really that bad? Every time the ball was hit to him, he'd find a way to make a play. And I'm like, okay, that's true. But we obviously understand that this is an inability to cover ground.
Right.
And just not get the balls that average right fielders typically would get to. I do wonder, and my friend sort of echoed that. So it's not just like my 80-year-old dad, coming up with this hypothesis. I do wonder if we're overblowing the defensive deficiencies of Castellanos a little bit. I agree, not a good defensive right fielder. I think it's time for him to go. But given where this offense is at, and I'm glad that this question got asked because I want to turn this into a Castellanos thing. Given that where the outfield is and where this offense is at, are we absolutely sure that just saying see you later to Nick Castellanos makes a ton of sense? Just we're going to make a $20 million cut here this week.
So I can't believe
I would still answer. All that said, I would answer yes. I think
yes.
The upside, the potential for Garcia to rebound, hit 30 home runs, plus the defensive upgrade that he brings. I think that Garcia is a better play than Castellanos. I would do it. I don't fault them for doing it. I think that you can go to bed at night and tell yourself this is a reasonable upgrade.
Yeah, I'm with you. What I can't believe is I'm actually sitting here on February 10th, 2026, still talking about Nick Castellanos.
It's just amazing. It's I don't want to say it's pathetic, but it's insane that it is February 10th and yesterday they're is there any chance that he just reports? And they're like, no. No, we're still trying to find a solution. The likelihood is that they probably just have to eat the entire thing. I don't know, man. I have a lot of thoughts on the Castellanos.
Yeah, well, I think that there's if you're just looking at it from the perspective of statistics, there's as good a chance that it's very similar with Adolis Garcia as there is that Adolis Garcia has that big bounce back year. The one thing I think is a positive as far as Garcia is concerned is that his hard hit rate is, he was still hitting balls hard when he makes contact, swings and misses at a lot of pitches, but at least when he was hitting the ball, he was stinging it. Whereas Castellanos was not. A lot of Nick's hits last year were bloopers, lunging at pitches and just getting the bat on the ball. And, credit to him in that regard. Sometimes there's value to that, right? You could put a ball in play and find some green to get the ball down and get a single, even on a pitch that you got fooled on. That is a skill. But I think that you're probably looking at Garcia giving you a better chance of putting the ball out of the ballpark. But there is just as equal a chance that he's the same guy that Nick Castellanos was, with just a little bit better range in right field. And people might not be happy with that, especially since you are going to probably eat $20 million to have such a marginal upgrade.
Can I ask you this? The Phillies are not in the business of just eating $20 million. That's just not really how they operate. There were times where we figured that Taijuan Walker might be out of here at $18 million a year, and they never went down that road, or they maybe tried but didn't get there. I know that it's been reported that there was some iciness between Castellanos and Rob Thomson.
Yes.
It has to go beyond that, right? And let me actually, before we go any further into this, I do want to just preface this conversation with the following. Nick Castellanos has had a very good career. He is a legitimate professional baseball player who has done it at a high level, maybe not always consistently, but has done it at a high level for an extended period of time.
Yes.
So I think that, you do need to acknowledge that when you start to have the conversations about maybe where he's at in this moment, or things have played out here, and that it's probably been a little bit underwhelming and a disappointment in these prolonged stretches of ineptitude followed by spikes of production. The guy's been a good player, and I don't I don't want to have this conversation in a disrespectful way to Nick Castellanos. At the same time, like, we got to look at this for what it is. Like, the defense is no good. The offense was certainly deteriorating. You mentioned it, the hard hit rates, everything plummeting, a lot of cheap hits, bloopers, all that stuff. But, like, even all of that said, the fact that they're about to just make a $20 million see you later move, there's got to be more play than just like Rob and him didn't get along.
Yeah, well, I think that the clubhouse was probably not fond of how that played out. And then there was,
not fond of how it played out in terms of they were upset with the player.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like it probably he crossed a line. And then there was all the stuff that was happening once he was reduced to being a platoon player, where, first he talks about, Harrison Bader not being happy with his situation. And Bader comes out and says, well, that's not true. He's the one who tells the story about Bryce Harper, having the blow up with Rob Manfred. And, I think there were little things, not that they don't like Nick, the players. Nick was a very popular player in that clubhouse, like very popular. Got along with the guys great, but I don't necessarily think that they appreciated how he handled the situation.
So how does that play out? Is that a player or two? Is that a player or two with like some clout kind of going upstairs and saying like, you got to get this guy out of here? Like, not a bad guy, but like if you want to move forward and try to win this thing, you got to listen to me. Like this, he's not it.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's the other way around. I wouldn't be surprised if the management went to those players with clout and said, here's what we're thinking. What do you guys think? And that they kind of said, yeah, we understand. Yeah. We like the guy. We hang out with him on our off days, really good family guy. He's a great dad. Obviously everybody knows that. So like, I think it's one of those situations where those conversations probably were had. And that's why, and I think it's more, like I was saying, it's more than the statistical elements here. I think that there's some off-field kind of, we need to kind of get the clubhouse back to where it was, and that was causing a little bit of a rift in the clubhouse vibe, for lack of a better term.
All right, I have one other thing here. You might have some more questions that you want to run through, and I'm happy to do that too.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about it, though. We're 42 minutes in. Harrison Bader goes to the Giants. It's 2 years, $20 million, basically 10 a year, what Garcia got for a 1 year deal here. Two things, like, to start the conversation. The first thing, did the Phillies miscalculate? Did Harrison Bader and the Phillies both miscalculate what his value was going to be on the open market? And, if the Phillies could have a redo, would they have done Bader at 2 years, $20 million prior to doing the Garcia deal? Can you just maybe give your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Hey, by the way, here you go. Gig 5087, basically asking your question for you. He says, you guys would know more than I would, but all of my friends and I wanted Bader back. Tough to see him go. I think he certainly misread the market, because I think he thought he was going to get something like 345. Like, I think that's what coming off the season that he had, I think that's what he thought he was going to get, or at the very least, 230 and then an option.
On that third. Not that I'm really dialed into the economics of Harrison Bader standing within baseball, but that would not have surprised me.
Right. I think that's what he kind of thought he was going to end up with. And he didn't. He got less. I would bet you that the deal is that the Phillies, when they contacted him earlier in the offseason, that they made an offer similar to what he ended up getting with the Giants. And it probably at that time was not good enough for Bader, because he still felt like he could get more. And so the Phillies went in a different direction. Rather than wait, rather than say, this market will come back to us, they didn't want to take the risk, and they moved in another direction. They signed Adolis Garcia, right, for right field. I'm not sure that they would have brought them both in. Like, I have a feeling that you're probably looking at if you bring back Bader's your center fielder, Marsh and someone other than Otto Kemp is your platoon in right field. Probably another veteran guy that you bring in. The Phillies' names they were attached to Randall Grichuk earlier in the offseason.
Okay, but so then let's go here. So then the market isn't what the Phillies maybe thought or that Bader thought it would be for his services. And then it comes down to, okay, 2 years, $20 million. You listen to the way that Bader talked about Philadelphia, and maybe some of that is just to public, PR move on his part.
100%. He's saying the same thing about the fans in San Francisco.
Yeah, everyone's great. Everything's awesome. I wanted to be there. But I'll go for the idea that he liked Philadelphia and would have happily returned here. Do you fault the Phillies for not signing him to a 2-year, $20 million contract, given what they have in the outfield now? And let me just, again, here's the roadmap to this. Now I'm not putting all of my chips in the Crawford basket in center field. Maybe I can get Bader 2 starts a week out in center. I can platoon him with Marsh in left. And oh, by the way, I don't know what the hell's going on in right field. We just talked about it. It could be boom or bust. So I can't find a way to pay, have Harrison Bader play 5 times a week. I probably could.
Well, so here's the question for you, Bob, and I'll lay it out in this way, because the Phillies couldn't risk waiting as long as it took for Bader to sign to fix their outfield. They just couldn't. You would have been in a situation where if you didn't get him, then you had nobody in the outfield, right? So they had to make a call on outfield sooner, which was in December. All right. If let's say you probably offer a little bit more, you probably would have had to offer more than what Bader eventually signed for to get him to sign a month earlier. If you do and you don't have Adolis Garcia, would you rather your outfield be Crawford in left, Bader in center, Marsh and some other veteran guy platooning in right, or what you have now? What's the better option?
I would take the first option.
Would you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So here's the thing with Bader. I also don't think that the Bader that you saw the last 2 months in Philly is what you're necessarily going to get moving forward.
Correct.
I just don't.
He's going to regress.
I think the issue that I have in all of this is that you're talking about an incremental difference between A and B. And I think this outfield sucks. I do. And I'm going to be pretty miserable, I'm pretty sure, in April when we watch this thing play out. Because at the heart of this, if you want to get takey, I think that Garcia will be exactly what we think he's going to be. He'll play decent defense. He's probably going to hit 230. He's going to have some absolutely atrocious at-bats, critical at-bats late in games where you're like, holy shit, what was that? I still think he might find his way to 27, 28 home runs, so it'll look all right in the end. But I don't think we're all going to go, oh, my God, this was awesome. I think that Brandon Marsh and Kemp might be fine in left field. I'm okay with that, I guess, but I'm not okay with it in conjunction with what you have in center field, because I asked you earlier, what do you think? And I got to tell you, I'm not super bullish. I hope he's better than what I think he is. But I just don't. I don't think he's a center fielder. That's in all of this. That's my biggest problem. Maybe he hits 280 and uses his speed and does grow a little bit and hit the ball on the line a little bit more. And he's not going to hit 25 home runs. That's okay. But can we implement some more line drive production into his bats on a consistent basis? Maybe, but he's not a center fielder.
So in essence, okay. So in other words, you would be, and this is, tell me if I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong. You would rather have an outfield where you have better defense in center field, okay, but your productivity, your OPS is less across the board in the outfield than what they're probably going to get this year.
Because it's not a great offensive outfield. If you were saying your OPS across the outfield is going to be 840 and you're taking it down to 720, of course I wouldn't do that. But
right.
You think that you have a very good offense to begin with, so I'd rather just be solid across the board and feel like, hey, guys out there can go get it. Now, one thing I'll say about Crawford is that I don't believe that their projection initially was center field. Like, I think that they felt like he'd be better suited for the corners. I don't think he's going to be like Brandon Marsh out there, though. I hope he's better than that.
Yeah.
Where
well, so there's been some internal debate. Like there was some conversation within the Phillies that they're where he's better suited. I think the way it was explained to me back in December down in Florida at the winter meetings was he could play left field in the major leagues right now. Center field, he's got a little bit of development to do, but they think he can get there.
Yeah,
that's their.
That feels like a totally reasonable assessment, and that's what I'll say this one more time. Like, I'm not saying that he can't do it.
Yeah,
I'm just saying for a team where you are trying to find value in the margins and what is going to be probably a razor thin division in terms of the way that this thing shakes out, like. Development is going to be there's going to be a bigger spotlight on development and the development time because of the roster and the way it's constructed. These things are going to get magnified. Like if he has a bad game out in center field and misplays a ball, like then that's something that's going to be focused on more than it may have otherwise been.
Yeah. Okay. Let me get to a couple more quick things before I get to one last thing. Question from David Waitman asks, would you two say the only spring training competition basically is the bench, backup catcher, and outfield? Seems the other spots are already decided. I'll answer first, and you tell me what you think, Bob.
Sure.
I think backup catcher is not really a competition. I think it is marginally, but it's Marchand's got a head start on Stubbs. Stubbs has a contract that has it's a two-way deal, so the Phillies kind of anticipate Marchand to be on the major league roster, Stubbs to be the third catcher. The outfield spots, I don't know what the competition is. Like I think it is exactly what Bob and I just outlined it to be. Maybe you sit there and say, who's the fifth outfielder and who's the last spot on the bench? Like that's maybe the one to question.
You look at what they have right now. I mean, the outfield going across, like we've just talked about it.
Yeah.
So you have Crawford, Garcia, Marsh. Kemp sort of slots in as a guy that will play the infield some, but also can bounce out to left field and will, I'm sure. Schwarber's probably going to play his 15 games out in left field, right. I guess. And then you look at their bench. So Kemp accounts for one of those guys. You obviously have Sosa.
Yeah.
So to me, like
there's one
Paul
spot.
Casella did I think I might be misspeaking here, but I think Paul Casella did a projection the other day, and I believe he had like Dylan Moore as the last guy in.
He had Dylan Moore as the last guy because Dylan Moore can play
both
6-7 positions, right? Like he's a super utility guy. But does Moore, who can't hit but can play 7 positions, does he win the last bench spot, or do you carry an extra outfielder? The guys that you go with Rojas again. They signed the first signing of the offseason was, I thought, one that's no one's talking about. I think is kind of an underrated possible last guy on the bench possibility. Brian De La Cruz. This guy hit 20 home runs in the Major League Baseball before when he was with the Miami Marlins. Kind of fell off the map, last year, bounced around for Pittsburgh and Atlanta, didn't hit at all. But he's in camp with them and has a shot. They also brought in Pedro Leon, who could play center field. So he's another guy that I think could be in that mix. So yes, is there a battle for that last bench spot? I think so. And I think it's amongst those guys.
You may not have talked to anybody about this, but is there any scenario like where Johan Rojas does grow and takes a step offensively?
Hey, look, I was, you know what the most stunning thing to me, Bob? That Johan Rojas made the Dominican Republic World Baseball Classic team. Now, they might just be bringing him in for the fact that he can play the center field defense. He can pinch run. He can be a late inning, like that kind of role. Maybe why he's there. But that tells you a little bit of something. Like, there's a lot of Dominican players in baseball, and he made that roster. So maybe there is to be that guy.
Yeah.
I don't see it. I think he's a little bit overrated in center field, to be honest with you. But
I
we'll
thought he
see.
took a step back, actually.
Yeah. And the only other spot to answer David's question that I think that there's going to be competition is for the last 2 spots in the bullpen. I think 6 of the spots are pretty much locked up. The righties are going to be Duran, Brad Keller, Kerkering, and Jonathan Bolin, who they acquired for Matt Strahm from the Kansas City Royals. You're not making that trade unless you expect Bolin to be a part of your bullpen. And then the 2 lefties, Alvarado and Banks. So it really leaves 2 spots in the bullpen. Zach McCambley was the Rule 5 pick, so I think he's going to get every chance to be one of those guys. He's dominant against righties in the minors, so there's a possibility there. And then who gets that last spot? I have no idea. Is it Max Lazar? Is it Zach Pop, who they brought in after 2 bad seasons? Chase Shugart, who they got from the Pirates, is I guess a possibility. I think, but that last spot is always a guy that goes up and down, up and down, up and down anyway, right? So I think that's kind of what you're looking at there. So that answers, hopefully that answers the question of, but no, there's no other competition. I mean, every other spot, yes, is pretty much secured, you know? So yeah. You have anything else? Because I have one last thing, and there's a question that kind of ties into
No, let's hit it. Let's go.
So Pretzel Job says, any concerns with the amount of players, mainly pitchers, playing in the WBC? The Phillies have, if you include minor leaguers, 16 players playing in the World Baseball Classic. 12 guys on the 40-man roster and then 4 additional players.
They're going to be pulling people out of that tiki bar to pitch the 7th inning of these spring training games.
That's going to be unbelievable. 16 guys playing in the World Baseball Classic. That's unbelievable amount. I want to take you back, Bob. I just wrote a story about this morning. I want to take you back to 2023. Like, do you remember, was there anything good that came out of the Phillies players playing in the World Baseball Classic back in 2023?
Oh, I just remember how excited everybody was for Trey Turner. He was like Captain America. Like, that was the whole thing. But no, nothing good came out of it.
Nothing, because every player that participated in the World Baseball Classic back in 23 kind of got off to a slow start. I think except Real Muto might have been the only one who did not. If I don't remember specifically with him. But Turner got off to a slow start that year. Ranger Suarez got hurt pitching for Venezuela. Didn't come up until, I guess it was mid-May, and then I think that was his worst regular season of his Phillies tenure. Taijuan Walker, that was when he had a little bit of a thing with Mexico there. Didn't go great. I just remember everybody that pitched for them in the World Baseball Classic or played for them in the World Baseball Classic got off to a rocky start in 23. And so, how do you adjust for that? How do you deal with the fact that you're going to have all these guys gone for better part of 2 weeks in spring training, if not a little bit longer?
Yeah. I mean, look, and the season starts, March 26th this year? I mean, it happens fast.
Yeah.
Now, I wonder where you're going with this. I think I know where you're going with this.
Well, no, here's the fun thing that I was going to go. So the interesting thing, and we didn't even talk about it, the last thing I want to say before one last thing is Rob Thomson said, and here's I'm going to read you his exact quote so that I don't get it wrong. When he was asked about it, he said, I think it's good for a guy like Nola to get his juices going and get the blood flowing. Same thing with Taijuan. I think for any of these guys, I think it's going to be a great, great experience. Does that say anything to you, Bob? That he's pointing that out, almost like Aaron Nola is traditionally a slow starter. Takes him usually a few starts in the beginning of a season to kind of build up. Traditionally, if you go back over the last 5 seasons, he only had one good April. And that was in 24 when the whole team was going great. Every other year, even 22, when he finishes 4th in the Cy Young voting, it was not a great April for Aaron Nola.
Every year it's so he has for his career, he's pitched to a 3.97 ERA in March, April, which is not terrible when you look at it, but it's been one of his poorer months in terms of what it looks like. And, you feel like every year you're like, well, the velocity's down, and it's going to take him a while to ramp up. And when the weather gets warm, that Aaron will figure it out. And okay, but also you're making $24 million. Could we maybe not take 6 weeks to ramp it up? So maybe you give him a competitive stage, force the acceleration a little bit, and not only that. Not only maybe do you force the acceleration on his readiness for the start of the season, but maybe you put him in a competitive situation. He can regain some confidence if it goes well and carry that into the season. Because quite honestly, I mean, he has to rebuild himself at this point. I think he's a confident guy. I think he's a true professional, all of those things, but he was a disaster last year. And so I think it would be a nice little box to check for him mentally if he can go out and play against some good competition and have meaningful success. I think that could be useful to him. I'm not saying it's going to change everything, but I think it could be useful to him coming into the season.
I agree. I agree with you. I mean, he's really not going to get much time in World Baseball Classic. I mean, pitchers are maxed at 65 pitches in the pool play. So he'll get one start in the pool play, and then Italy would have to qualify for the quarterfinals for him to get a second start. So
are you out on Italy as a?
Well, I don't know. I mean, 18. I don't know if I could come up with. I don't know if they're going to battle for the 8th spot. Maybe there's a chance that they get the 8th spot. So I have no idea. So really, it might only be one start, potentially two. So I don't know how much you can make of that, other than what you just said. You're playing a game that matters in spring training when you normally are not playing games that matter. Right. And so maybe that helps. But here's the thing I wanted to get to for one last thing, Bob, because I just thought this was fun. And I think we can wrap it up on a fun note today. So there are a bunch of guys that are playing in the World Baseball Classic who used to play for the Phillies as well. Obviously, we know the big names like the Ranger Suarez is playing for Venezuela and Harrison Bader is playing for Israel. But I want to go through a few more with you and just kind of have a couple laughs here right before we wrap it up. On the Panamanian team, Johan Camargo.
No. No.
Remember Johan Camargo?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Glorious run that he had here.
That 52-game stint in 2022 that he had.
Yeah. National League champs.
He got a ring. I wrote that. He got one of John Milton's runner-up rings. Yeah. Jorge Alfaro for Colombia.
Wow. That's 2018, 2017, 2018 right there.
It gets better.
I liked him. I was excited about him.
Well, he was the big part of the Hamels trade.
Yeah,
right?
He had great physical tools.
Yeah, big part of the Hamels trade. Never quite got there. Pitching behind Aaron Nola for Team Italy, Michael Lorenzen.
All right. I mean, that's a professional.
He's the number 2 guy.
Professional name.
Yeah, they also got Sam Aldegheri on that team. You remember he was the guy that got traded to the Angels for Estevez, one of the 2 pitchers that traded for Estevez. He's also on that Italian team. Yaxel Rios.
God.
It's on the team Puerto Rico.
These aren't even when you think about these names of yesterday, these aren't even that bad.
Oh wait, it's getting better. It's getting better. I got more for you, Bob. There's 3 more I want to get to. How about this? The starting third baseman for Team Netherlands will be D.D. Gregorius.
Wow. I mean, look, he had a nice little run here,
Yes.
It was a sad day when they said we gotta cut you loose.
But that's the thing. Other than I think he had a brief AAA stint with the Mariners in 2023. Yeah. He's been playing in the Mexican League for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So he's now going to be on Team Netherlands. Believe it or not, once again, the ace of the Great Britain staff will be the Vanimal, Vance Worley.
Dude, Vance Worley hasn't pitched in major leagues in 9 years.
He hasn't pitched in organized baseball since 2022.
Yeah.
Not even an independent league.
Oh, my God.
And he's going to be, at 38 years old, the ace of the staff for Great Britain. But I got one more for you. How's this one? This is the craziest of them all. Who was the top prospect that the Phillies got in the trade with the Seattle Mariners in 2009 for Cliff Lee?
It's like Tyson Achilles or whatever. Like
No, better name than that. Guy actually pitched for the Phillies for a few years.
I don't know. Yeah, what do you got?
Philippe Almont.
Almont. Oh my God.
Philippe Almont is pitching for Team Canada.
Dude, I respect the fact that his body is even like in position to do that. He was like, that was like watching a robot pitch. Like he was so stiff. Like, I mean,
Philippe Almont. And what does it say for Team Canada?
Canada got a shot. Like, I mean,
what is it? Well, here's the best part about it. This is the thing that blows my mind. Team Canada is putting Philippe Almont on a roster at 37 years old, and the guy has not pitched in a professional league since 2019.
Yeah,
since 2019. He's on the roster.
6'7". So he weighed 260 as a player. He's probably got to be up to like what 290 now. Like
he's on this roster, and Jordan Romano is not.
Yeah, dear Lord.
And Romano's got a major league job with the Angels, and he's not on the Canada
roster.
You
know what makes me feel old is like I'm looking up Philippe Almont now, and like this guy's 3 years younger than me. Like, how old am I? When the hell did I get this old? Like, I'm thinking to myself, like, I think that he's probably one of the few players like that could pick up a ball that might be older than me. He's not.
Bob, when I was looking through these rosters and I saw Philippe Almont, I did a double take. I really did a double take. I could not believe he was on Team Canada's roster.
I think what I just learned by this rundown and some of the teams that you just named is that there's probably 4 teams that are going to end up in the finals of this thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be. It
might be some afterthoughts here.
I mean, the 3 best teams are USA, Japan, and Dominican Republic. The 4th team is the one where you get, will it be Venezuela? Will it be Puerto Rico? Right? Like, I mean, there's a few teams that could potentially be.
Does this do anything for you? You a World Baseball Classic guy?
I'm not, because I just don't think the pitching's good enough in March. It just isn't. I mean, I know there's some big names going to be pitching in it. I mean, Skeens and Skubal are both going to be pitching for Team USA. Like, that changes, things, but. It doesn't. They're just not there yet. I wish this was a tournament that you can have in the middle of the season, but you can't. Yeah. You can't stop the season for this, right? So, anyway, last comment I want to pop up because I think this is a fun one from Sickle Moon Blues. Every other podcast is too busy glad-handing this team. The fair analysis and much-deserved criticism has been a breath of fresh air, gentlemen.
I've heard a lot of positive reviews from some podcasts about this Phillies team. And I'm not going to do it.
Well, no, I mean, I'm there. I understand why you look at this team and say it's still a really good team.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I agree. That was a great comment. I actually agree because I think that we've been very fair. Like, I don't think it's like you can sit here and just piss all over the Phillies. I just think that some issues here.
Right,
we can talk about them.
Just didn't get quite to where they needed to go. That's all. Yeah. That's all. That's fair. And I think it's deserved criticism at this point. And by the way, I get this, of course, Ant saves the positivity for the Flyers, who are much worse. But that's all right. Thanks, Gig. Appreciate you, bud, as always. Well, that'll do it for us. And we're going to be back doing Ford wants to know, is your last name German?
It is.
There you go, Ford.
In Germany, it would be Wankel, actually. So
there you go. Yeah. There you go. But anyway, we're going to be back doing this a couple times a week now, right? Back to our usual schedule.
Yep. Live reactions. Are you down there at all? I know that Tim Kelly's going down. Are you going down?
We're actually breaking it up into 3. So Tim Kelly will be down there for On Pattison starting tomorrow, and he'll be down there for the first 10 days of spring training. Grace Del Pizzo is going to go the first week of March, and then I will be down there from the 11th through the 18th of March. So towards the end of spring training, when they're finalizing those camp battles, I'll be the one writing about those jobs that are up for grabs at that point. So I'll have all that on Pattison, but you can listen to Fightin' Words. Thanks for tuning in. As always, you know where to find us. on wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Pandora. But the best way to do it is subscribe to Fighting Words right here on YouTube. Click that thumbs up, ring the bell. You'll get an alert whenever Bob and I go live. Usually going to be beginning of a week and the end of the week after a series or leading into a series. So usually tends to be Monday, Friday. Sometimes it's Tuesday, sometimes it's Thursday, but it's usually Monday, Friday. Never miss a show if you hit that thumbs up and subscribe. And if you're listening in the podcast feed, you can find us on youtube.com/@FightinWords. For Bob Wankel, I'm Anthony Sanfilippo saying thanks for tuning in. We're looking forward to yet another great Philly season ahead for you guys here on Fighting Words. Have a